In the 9th year of Emperor Shenzong's reign, there was a great chaos in the world, with powerful officials shouldering 14 provinces and the emperor becoming a puppet. Su Guang traveled through time and finally obtained a golden finger. Current search keyword. Bloodline Power. Associated terms. Awakening, safety. Setting range. Feiyun City, 30 miles radius. Search results are as follows. 1. Su Guangke can choose to swallow 1 kilogram of stones every day for 3 consecutive years to awaken the power of blood vessels. Stone skin. Note. If the body is not strong enough, it may die due to stomach bloating. 2. Su Guang swallowing the ancient eye can awaken the power of blood vessels. Blood eye. The current position of the ancient eye is as follows. After Su Guang gains the power of blood vessels and blood eyes, he takes the essence and blood from the whole body of an outsider and pours them into his own body. There is a chance to obtain the corresponding outsider's divine power, and there is a chance to weaken it. The method of pouring the column is as follows. Note. The current number of search results is displayed as 3. Years later, Su Guang stood by the bank of Weishui, with countless white bones falling behind him. He murmured softly. Search, who is the most powerful person in this world? When do I want to be able to tear apart this world? Keywords of the novel. Horizontally pushing martial arts. Starting from anticipating opportunities without pop-ups, horizontally pushing martial arts. Starting from anticipating opportunities. Download the complete text. Horizontally pushing martial arts. Starting from anticipating opportunities. Read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Su Guang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Su Guang. The sun rises in the sky, and there are no clouds for thousands of miles. Daqian, Qingzhou, Feiyun City. A carriage slowly drove past the incredibly thick city wall and looked through the opening of the city gate. Gray buildings cluster in the city, with various towers, and ancient red houses and towers rise one after another. Large courtyards with flying eaves and upturned corners can be seen everywhere. With a loud bang, the deafening thunder gradually spread from far to near, starting from the dark horizon. Thunder erupted for a moment, and a strong wind surged. Crash, the dense rain seems to be pouring down from the sky. Su Guang, wearing a bamboo hat and carrying an empty bamboo basket, stood under a roof in the alley, gazing at the gloomy sky and feeling unhappy. It's raining again. He is about 1.7 meters tall, with a dark face, a young and delicate appearance, and a chin with green fuzz. Just before he could finish his emotions, he saw a few people running from afar, seemingly coming here to take shelter from the rain. The drizzle was like a curtain, and it wasn't until he approached that Su Guang could see the faces of the few people clearly. His complexion became increasingly unsightly. You stinky kid again, you dare to come to our territory. Su Guang pursed his lips, paused, and then smiled apologetically. So it's brother Hu. He's walking this way. There's wind, but rain can't come in here. The burly man in charge glanced at Su Guang and sneered before slowly approaching. The person behind him pushed Su Guang away, allowing Tiger Brother to stand where the rain would not drift in. I told you before that if I wanted to sell fish here again, would have to pay a fee. Are you ignoring my words? Su Guang's face turned bitter, and he gritted his teeth in pain as he took out 10 small knife coins from his pocket that he had been selling fish in the city today. Oh, so carefree, it seems that you have earned a lot. Tiger Brother sneered and then said, it's just not enough. Let's talk about it. Starting from this month, everyone in this area will have to increase their daily income by 30%. 30%. Su Guang's eyes showed helplessness, so he had to bend down and take out 3 small knife coins from his pants. Ha ha ha, it's so refreshing. You kid can make a fortune. Tiger Brother laughed. If there is really a way to get rich, it's all thanks to Tiger Brother's blessings. Not bad, don't worry, I won't charge you for nothing. With our Black Water gang guarding you in the eastern suburbs, you won't be bullied. Tiger Brother was very satisfied with Su Guang's attitude and patted him on the shoulder with a smile. Thank you very much for taking care of Tiger Brother. Su Guang lowered his eyebrows and stood half in the rain, his eyes calm as if he had already accepted the rules of this world. He dared not show any resentment or express any dissatisfaction, but completely hid his thoughts in his heart. The rain has finally eased. Su Guang walked through the streets and alleys, purchased 3 pounds of chestnut rice, 5 pounds of bran, and a small handful of salt from a grain shop. He also bought some medicine from a familiar medical clinic next door, and with the 36 small knife coins he had earned from being extorted by Tiger Brother before, he spent all his money today. He walked towards the city gate on the muddy ground. The rainstorm just now came quickly. The ground was extremely muddy and there were not many pedestrians on the street. Su Guang looked down at the animal feces that were trampled into mud on the roadside and still smelled bad, and could not help but accelerate his pace. Traveling rapidly all the way, passing through the incredibly thick city wall gate, briskly crossing the stone bridge, and then walking 3 to 5 miles, one can see a small village. Finally, at the entrance of the village, Su Guang stopped in his tracks. This was his only home in the world. The dilapidated earthen walls are of varying heights, with various debris and garbage piled up at the top of the walls. There is also a small vegetable field at the entrance, and a couplet is hung on the door. Su Guang pushed open the door and walked in, moving the agricultural tools behind the door. "Mom, I'm back," he said in the corner of the room. A skinny and elderly-looking woman was washing clothes. Upon hearing Su Guang's words, she quickly stood up and said, "Brother Guang is back. It rained just now, can you still sell the fish?" Su Guang took off the bamboo basket from behind and responded, "I'm lucky today. I came into the city and had a wealthy family hold a wedding, and I gave that family a basket of fish. This is the medicine I bought for you." Su's mother's hand paused in the air, her eyes slightly red, and she said, "Your father." Su Guang remained silent. Su's father had a relapse from his old injury the night before yesterday and died suddenly in the middle of the night. Having awakened his memories in this world for nearly 8 years, Su Guang still has a vague feeling. Fortunately, he did not enjoy the treatment of the protagonist. His parents were both intact, and there was also an older sister and a younger sister at home. The older sister married someone, and the third sister disappeared in his first year of travel. He didn't want to go looking for his third sister, but his connections and family connections were just like that. After 7 years, he found nothing. However, he is not worried. As long as San Mei is still alive, he will definitely be able to find her in a while. This life may be because his family is poor, his status is too low, his family is very harmonious, his parents and sisters treat him well, and they keep everything good for him. Plus, he's getting older and can barely make ends meet. He also felt a bit helpless. Why didn't he travel through a wealthy family, living a life of food and clothing, getting older, and having people take sperm regularly? The world is helpless, reincarnation and time travel are beyond his control. Su's mother packed up the things Su Guang brought back and hesitated, saying, "Brother Guang, after the Chinese New Year, you will also be 17. At the age of marriage, these years have been chaotic and chaotic. There has been a disaster in the Central Plains, and so many refugees have arrived. It may be chaotic at some point. Yesterday, I sat in front of your father's coffin all night, intending to have someone go across the river to find a marriage for you. It was both a way to leave for the Su family and to give your father peace of mind." Su Guang remained silent. "Mom, I don't want to be so anxious." "You're not in a hurry, I'm in a hurry, your dad." "Hey, you don't have to worry, this matter is up to me." After a pause, Su's mother said again, "These days are not peaceful. You should kill fish at the stall and come back early in the future. When you are outside, be more patient in everything. As long as you are alive, it is better than anything. I know, Su Guang nodded. He had a strange expression on his face, and he forgave he has been tolerating for 8 years. From the beginning, he was taught to be arrogant. If it weren't for those who saw him as young and had a brother-in-law working in the city, he would have been dead in the grave by now, wouldn't he? However, soon he should no longer have to endure it. Listen to me, the second dog who used to play with you in Qianxiang when we were young. Just a few days ago, when he received his wages, he was dragged into the alley and robbed by someone on the street. When someone saw him, his leg was broken. Su's mother noticed Su Guang's expression and quickly spoke up to teach him a lesson. Those people across the river are restless and always thinking of crossing the river to rob. Not to mention ordinary families like us, they are the gangs in the surrounding towns. These days, many leaders have changed. Don't take it lightly. Su Guang nodded repeatedly, his face serious. Su's mother finally let him go and turned to cook. Su Guang returned to the dark room alone, sniffing the damp smell in the air, his eyes numb. In the void that only he can see, a panel that only he can see. Current search keyword. Bloodline Power. Associated terms. Awakening, safety. Setting range. Feiyun City, 30 miles radius, searching. 99%, coming into this world, he did not rely entirely on it, but it fell into silence during an irrational attempt 8 years ago. That is a searcher, a plugin made by Su Guang in his past life to play a game, commonly known as a cheat. At that time, in order to prevent being detected by the game company, what he did was not too outrageous. The function was very simple. He entered what he wanted to know, added some terms, and the plugin would run for search. 8 years ago, he just recalled his past life memories. At that time, his father returned from a battle with the Nishanwei of Feiyun City, and he saw a giant who was 3 meters tall. The person who is revered as the general of the giant spirit has caused a huge blow to his young soul. Is that really a human? Later, when he listened to his father's explanation, he realized that the person was an outsider, a awakened bloodline outsider. The so-called outsider, according to Su Guang's father's explanation and his own understanding, can be roughly explained as the power of ancient ancestors hidden in the human bloodline of this world. Some people have unique talents and can easily awaken, while others have mediocre talents and may not be able to awaken for a lifetime. The general of the giant spirit was an outsider who had awakened his bloodline power, and his status had risen from the lowest level of slave people to the highest level of noble people. Perhaps in no time, his martial arts cultivation would rise further, and he would be accepted as a divine people by the court. The Qian belonged to a non-standard feudal dynasty, where monarchy and feudalism coexisted. The political laws were strict and people were divided into 5 classes. Divine people, noble people, ordinary people, common people, and slave people. The Su Guang family belongs to the common people, just like the caste system in India that was not liberated in the past. This class is not even allowed to engage in business. In recent years, he has been thinking about using his foresight in his past life to make money and improve his life, but to do so, he must fill the appetite of the gangs that can be seen everywhere in the city, as he does today. Even if his brother-in-law is a warrior, those people are afraid of his family, not his brother-in-law. His family already didn't like his elder sister, and in order to avoid making her uncomfortable, Su Guang had to rely on himself for everything. No matter how capable he is, his background determines his status. Without military force, he is nothing but a small commoner in Feiyun City. A commoner class who, as long as they have money and are targeted by higher class people, will be deprived of everything. 8 years ago, Su Guanggang had just awakened Su Hui from his previous life. When he saw General Giant Spirit, he thought he wanted to awaken his bloodline power, so he tried to use a search tool to search for the awakened bloodline power. This search lasted for a full 8 years. This is also the real reason why he is unable to find his third sister and treat his father's illness even though he has such a perverted thing as a search engine. 8 years have passed, and Su Guang's great expectations and hopes have gradually turned into disappointment, until now it has almost turned into indifference. But a few days ago, the progress bar that had not moved for a long time bounced again, and today it has bounced 10 times in a row. Maybe the search will have results tomorrow. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Tianyan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Tianyan, Brother Guang, it's time for dinner. Su Guang was awakened by his mother's voice, and he walked out of the yard in silence. A few bowls and chopsticks were placed on the table, leaving only Su mother. Brother Guang, hurry up and eat. Your sister brought meat from the city again today, hurry up and eat it. Su's mother placed the only finger-sized piece of meat into Su Guang's bowl and looked at him kindly. This heavy love made Su Guang find it difficult to bear, so he buried his head in the rice filled with chestnuts and said in a muffled voice. Next time, ask my sister not to come out to deliver meat, it's unstable, and her father-in-law doesn't like her. If it weren't for her brother-in-law's protection in the past few years, my sister would have given birth to a little question, and I don't know how hard it would have been. Su's mother snorted coldly, how hard can life be? The Wang family is a respectable person. With such a large business association, it would be possible to reduce her food and clothing expenses. I've heard that they let her practice martial arts. Su Guang remained silent. The idea of valuing sons over daughters is particularly evident in this world. Since the eldest sister got married, because her husband's family lives in the city, in Su's mother's heart, the eldest sister has gone to enjoy happiness. No matter what she does, as long as it is for Su Guang, it is her right. Alright, let's go to bed as soon as we finish eating. I'm starving again and the price of grain has increased. I'll eat less in the future. That night, Su Guang tossed and turned and couldn't sleep because he felt that news was about to appear on the search panel today. Confused and tossed until midnight. Occasionally calling up the panel to check, I don't know how many times I have checked, and finally there has been a change on the panel. Search results are as follows. 1. Su Guangke can choose to swallow 1 kilogram of stones every day for 3 consecutive years to awaken the power of blood vessels. Stone skin. Note. If the body is not strong enough, it may die due to stomach bloating. 2. Su Guang swallowing the ancient eye can awaken the power of blood vessels. Blood eye. The current position of the ancient eye is as follows. 3. After Su Guang obtains the power of blood vessels and blood eyes, he takes the whole body essence and blood of an outsider to infuse himself. There is a chance to obtain the corresponding outsider's divine power, and there is a chance to weaken it. The method of column infusion is as follows. Note. The current number of search results is displayed as 3. Su Guang had a strange expression on his face, and the searcher seemed to be even more powerful than he had imagined, providing 3 items. And the third item, the awakened bloodline power of the ancient heavenly eye, seemed beyond his imagination. He didn't know much about outsiders and didn't know if there was a way to deprive others of their bloodline power. However, even if there was one, it must be only those top-level aristocrats or super sects, right? Su Guang got out of bed and began following the search instructions to search for the so-called ancient celestial eye. He never expected that the so-called ancient heavenly eye would be right in his house, right under his nose. If it weren't for the searcher, he would never have thought that among the relics sent back by his father's deceased friend from the southern battlefield a while ago, there was a precious treasure. Carefully taking out the covered walnuts from his father's altar, Su Guangxin remained speechless. The searcher not only has a location, but also a specific way to use it. Su Guang, who was well aware of the dark world in this area, did not hesitate. He smashed the walnut, took out the red heart, and swallowed it in one gulp. Boom! It seemed like a nuclear bomb was exploding in Su Guang's ear, followed by endless blood. Although he had not opened his eyes, it seemed like he had seen it, churning in his mind. Next came a pain that he would never forget. It was like someone opening their head and stuffing something in, and the pain made Su Guang's physiological instinct want to faint, but his brain also transmitted an incredibly clear feeling. Ling Qi may not have such pain, at least Ling Qi is physical, and feedback to the brain nerves is somewhat soothing, which is directly acting on the brain nerves of Ling Qi. Su Guang curled up on the bed, tightly biting the headboard without saying a word. Su's father was newly buried, and Su's mother finally fell asleep. Su Guang didn't want to disturb her elderly home. After an unknown amount of time, Su Guang's consciousness had fallen into a state of confusion, and the pain disappeared like a tide, as if it had never existed before. Su Guang opened his eyes in disbelief, his eyes filled with surprise. Immediately, he stood up and eagerly examined his own changes. Limbs, torso there hasn't been any change, only the forehead. At some point, a thin and long bloodline sprouted from the center of his forehead and eyebrows. Blessed to the soul, he understood that this was the bloodline power he had gained through suffering. The bloody eye. Just before he could continue his research, fatigue surged in his heart and he fell asleep. The next morning, Su Guang woke up to wash up. He could clearly feel the changes in himself, his ears and eyes were clear, and his body was strong. I don't know how many times better than my previous state. In front of my father's throne, there came a sobbing sound. Su Guang knew that it was the elder sister who had returned. The elder sister married into the Wang family of the Huya Chamber of Commerce in the city. Her brother-in-law is a romantic brain, but her status in the clan is low. Otherwise, her family would not have allowed her to marry a commoner's daughter. A few days ago, Su's father was buried, and many people from the village came, but neither his brother-in-law nor his elder sister came, and he was banned by the Wang family. Su Guang also understands that this kind of red and white matter is not willing to come over, which only shows that the Wang family sincerely looks down on their own family and is releasing an unwavering message to everyone. Su's mother and elder sister Su Chun hugged each other and cried in front of their father's memorial tablet. The family was poor, and even Bai Fan had only set aside 2 sides. Thinking of his father's suffering for so many years, Su Guang felt a suppressed anger in his heart, constantly eroding his entire body, and his heart was suffering greatly. Strictly speaking, Su's father's illness is an injury. 5 years ago, Su's father was busy in the field. The young lady of the Han family in the inner city was on a trip, leading people and horses to step on the farmland. Su's father and many villagers stepped forward to stop him. Miss Han whipped Su's father to the side, unaware of his life or death. Since then, Su's father has never been able to get up again, and the 5 acres of fertile land granted by the court after his family's savings and return from military service have all been exhausted for his father's recovery. The Han family in the inner city. It is said that the famous master of Feiyun City has a close relationship with the city governor's office. It is too difficult to seek revenge from the Miss Han family. After searching for 8 years, Su Guang finally showed his excitement, but his father's death filled his heart with sorrow. The search engine fell into silence a few years ago and only ended after my father's death, which is somewhat ironic. I've been enduring it for a few years, not short of this. Next, I'll embark on the path of cultivation, develop my bloodline power, and avenge my father. Eat the food prepared by your mother. Su Guang continues to go to the town to kill fish. He needs to wield his knife to see blood. It is also used to collect fish blood, so that his blood eyes can grow. Generally speaking, the power of blood vessels changes with the improvement of cultivation. With the power of ordinary people nowadays, blood eye has only one ability, which is to collect the blood of living beings and transform it into one's own essence. Essence and blood, as the term sounds lofty, can only truly be used after embarking on the path of cultivation. According to the mystical novels of previous lives, essence and blood are as important as the origin of practitioners. However, with the power of blood eyes in hand, in the future, they may be called infinite essence and blood. For him, at this stage, infinite essence and blood are somewhat insignificant. After all, he cannot even be considered a martial artist. However, after becoming an outsider, his physical fitness will rapidly increase, and he can clearly feel that his strength and physical ability have become even stronger. Last night when he was sleeping, he still had some cramps in his legs, so he should be growing taller again. Thinking of the searcher, he immediately opened the panel. Current search keyword. Su Qiu's whereabouts. Associated terms. Safety, life and death. Setting range. De Qian, searching. 10%, upon seeing the progress bar, Su Guang breathed a sigh of relief. It would take 10 days to search for the whereabouts of San Mei, not too long. The time for practicing martial arts needs to be postponed again, but he didn't regret it. His father's sudden passing had already made him regret it. He didn't want his third sister to also have an accident. When he was young, his eldest sister was a few years older, and he had the best relationship with her. His former voice and smile were faintly in his ears. He didn't search randomly or recklessly, but recalled when he was creating a searcher to avoid cheating detection, he entered a key command into it, and the search result was related to the character's level. Su Qiu has been missing for 7 years. He is too young to practice martial arts, so his level should not be appropriate. The search time should not be too long. He mechanically waved the kitchen knife in his hand, starting and falling, and each fish was quickly cleaned up by him. Guangke's method of handling fish has become even more amazing, it's really clean. Nyo-san, who came to the backyard of the fish stall to pick up fish, looked at Su Guang's technique with surprise in his eyes and a tone of envy. After all, Su Guang is the brother-in-law of the young master of the Wang family. Finding such a skilled job for him would not make him hungry in the year of famine. I estimate that in a few more days, when Brother Guang's efficiency improves, the boss should also increase his wages, right? Su Guang just smiled and lost his previous enthusiasm. Nyo-san didn't care either, after all, his father had just left and it was inevitable that he was in a bad mood. In the afternoon, there were no more people buying fish. Su Guang stretched lazily and thought of the recent changes in the city, so he carried the fish-killing knife behind him. Uncle Wang, the streets are not peaceful now. I brought my fishing knife home and will bring it back tomorrow. Okay, said the fish stall owner inside the room. It was already afternoon, the hottest time of the day, and because the streets were not peaceful, Su Guang decided to go home now. As we passed through the reed marshes and the stone bridge, a faint noise came out. The cries and slaps of women turned into whimpering sounds. This damn weather is full of energy. Su Guang cursed inwardly and hurried towards home. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Relatives. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Relatives. In recent years, things have become increasingly chaotic, but it is also inevitable that the 3 provinces in the Central Plains have suffered disasters, with a large number of refugees fleeing. At least millions of refugees have piled up across the Wei River. Yes, millions. This world is much larger than before. As far as Su Guang knows, there are tens of millions of ordinary people, hundreds of millions of commoners, and tens of millions of slave people in just one state of Qingzhou. Those who can escape to the hinterland of Qingzhou and the area around Weishui are already a few refugees. Millions of refugees are piling up south of Weishui, which will inevitably cause a huge impact on Feiyun City. Su Guang doesn't believe that there are no warriors among the people across from him. The mountain rain is about to come, and the wind fills the building. Every day when passing by Shiqiao on his way to and from work, Su Guang could see corpses floating in the water. Occasionally, he could also see some men pushing unicycles to transport corpses and abandoning the river. The small river flowing from the nearby mountains and crossing Feiyun City has now become a place similar to a mass grave. Su Guang did not go home directly, but walked towards the grain shop outside the city. His bloodline power awakened, and he has been continuously transforming his body in the past few days. His appetite has greatly increased, and in just half a month, the price of food has doubled. Seeing the increasing chaos, he wants to buy more food. With the influx of refugees from various regions, the price of grain has inevitably increased too much. Su Guang earns $6 a day to kill fish, but now the price of 1 kilogram of grain is $4. Su Guang never went to the city again, just calmly killing fish at the fish stall and collecting fish blood. The method of converting fish blood into essence blood is very simple. He only needs to place a part of his body in the blood, and after a period of time, the blood color in the fish blood will fade. He doesn't know the principle, nor can he see the changes in his palm. I don't know if the quality of the fish's blood is too low or the conversion efficiency is too low. After killing the fish for 3 days, he didn't feel any changes in his blood eyes, nor did he produce any blood essence. Come back after killing the fish at noon. Su Chun brought his nephew Wang back to his mother's house. Wang is 6 years old this year, with a tiger-like head and a tiger-like brain. He is very cute and affectionate towards Su Guang, his uncle. Earlier, Su Guang had been playing with Wang at the dock. Later on, when he got to work, he would always give his nephew some fish to soak in. In the strict rules of the Wang family, Wang was a lowly object that he could not come into contact with. Su Guang touched Wang Wen's head and looked curiously at his sister who was bowing to his mother from the room. "Sister, what's wrong? Why did she suddenly come back?" Su Chun looked at Su Guang with a smile on his face and said quite harshly, "Why, I can't come back yet." Su Guang waved his hands repeatedly. Su Chun was the boss, perhaps because he was always taken care of by Su Chun during his youth. He was often beaten when he was young. "Big sister, what are you talking about? You are from my Su family, come back whenever you want." Su Chun gave him a sideways glance and said, "That's pretty much the same. Coming back this time is a good thing, Xiao Guang. Sister asked you, how have you been practicing the techniques of killing fish in the fish stall in recent years? After killing fish for 5 years, my heart is as cold as the fish knife in my hand. That's okay, killing fish is definitely not mainstream. Slaying big animals is a good job. I've been wandering around the city for a long time these days and found a good job for you." Su Guang was a bit surprised. What kind of job? The Qing family hunted a heterologous yellow pig in the forest and originally wanted to domesticate it. However, there hasn't been much progress these days, so they thought about finding someone to slaughter it. I've been grinding with your brother-in-law for a long time before taking on this job. You're ready. Su Chun said proudly. Su Guang's expression was slightly stagnant, killing pigs. The span from killing fish to killing pigs is quite large. And when I went to the Qing family, I still killed a heterologous yellow pig. However, with the awakening of his bloodline power in recent days, his strength has increased several times, and it should not be difficult to kill a pig. And if we can embezzle some pig blood, perhaps we can gather essence and blood for ourselves. Big sister, you're really this. Su Guang smiled obsequiously and gave a thumbs up, feeling extremely moved in his heart. My own sister really has some Voldemort's temperament, that is, her brother-in-law doesn't have a high status in the family, otherwise in these days, the status of women is very low, and the brother-in-law's family holds a relatively low position in the family. The status of the elder sister goes without saying. Being able to kill people of different races inevitably requires a lot of effort from the sister and brother-in-law. Su Chun smiled proudly and said, "That's natural. If it weren't for me and your brother-in-law grinding the Qing family's second young master for several days, this job wouldn't have reached your hands. Half a pound of exotic pork, your brother-in-law would have been very eager. However, your brother-in-law has a cultivation method, and the Wang family has always looked down on you. You can go to the Qing family and behave well this time. Since the young lady of the Qing family came to power, she has had a very indifferent view of class. If you behave well this time, you may not be able to obtain the cultivation method. Upon hearing this, Su Guang's heart became increasingly filled with warmth. When will it be over? Su Chun glanced at the sky and said, the day we agreed with the Qing family is 3 days later. Tomorrow, we will go to the city together and stay with your brother. In law for a day. The next day, I will take you to the Qing family. Su Guang knew that Wang Wen had arrived and would definitely not enter the city today. He didn't say much and took Wang Wen to play in the yard. In the evening, it was Su Chun who cooked the meal. In recent days, the transformation of the bloodline is still ongoing. Su Guang has eaten a lot, and Wang Wen has been shouting at the table, "Uncle is a rice bucket." Su Guang was very helpless. He did not tell his mother about becoming an outsider. Her mother usually likes to show off, but now that her father has just left, her mother may speak out to express the Su family's still declining thoughts. After a few days, when my mother's mood stabilizes, I will tell her that by then, third sister should also have a whereabouts. Night. Su Guang slept with Wang Wen, who did not have the coquettishness of a young master in the city. Whether it was food or accommodation, there was no noise. Anyway, as long as his uncle was around, he would be quiet. After finally coaxing Wang Wen to sleep, Su Guang suddenly felt soreness all over his body in a daze, followed by a sour and itchy sensation in his throat. Su Guang quickly got up and rushed to the hospital, where he began coughing until a pool of black blood spat out from his throat, and the sour and itchy feeling finally disappeared. Su Chun helped Su's mother out of the main house and quickly approached to show concern when she saw Su Guang's appearance. "Mom, go to bed quickly. I sucked a lot of dust when I went out to play today. It's okay." When he coaxed his old mother back and looked at the worried expression on his elder sister Su Chun's face, Su Guang shook his head, indicating that he was okay. Su Chun didn't ask much. Her younger brother was already old, and her father had already left. Only Su Guang remained in the Su family, and she could no longer manage everything as she did in her childhood. "If you have nothing to do, go back to sleep. I'll go watch over my mother." Su Guang also felt the change in himself at this moment, truly worthy of a transformation. According to the division of martial arts cultivation realm, even if he has not entered the first step of self-cultivation, he has already taken half a step. The power of blood vessels is a magical force, and the beauty of the human body is infinite. Although the power of blood vessels accompanies the growth of the realm, it can also reverse the realm due to the strength of blood vessels. Bloody Eye, I wonder how high does it rank among those bloodline powers. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Outbreak. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Outbreak. Early the next morning, the sound of my nephew Wang asking and chattering came from the house. He was making a fuss and cheering, as if unaware of the family's troubles. Su's mother knew that Su Guang would go to the city after killing fish and leaving work, so she cooked a sumptuous breakfast. The dish is radish with bean dregs, boiled cabbage in water with a lot of salt added. Rice is chestnut rice mixed with bran. The elder sister sneaked back to pay respects to Su's father without bringing any meat, and in general, the Su family does not have the opportunity to eat meat, or in other words, they are not qualified to eat meat. The division of classes is fully demonstrated in this world. The elder sister comforted her mother all night, and she finally didn't feel so decadent when she got up. She looked much more energetic. Su Guang is very pleased. He is not very good at words and was also an otaku in his past life. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made a cheat for personal use just to play games at home. After dinner, big sister Su Chun went to wash dishes, while Su Guang went to work with a fish knife on his back. Passing through the village alley, crossing the stone bridge, and walking on the country road. The neatly trimmed farmland is square and square, with no weeds except for the crops. In the distance, there are also some farmers who are ready to work. When they arrived at the fish stall, the fisherman on the Wei River had already delivered the first batch of catch. The owner of the fish stall is named Wang Dashan, who belongs to the same family as his brother-in-law. He is a chubby middle-aged man and a commoner. Erlang came so early today. Su Guang smiled shyly and said, Uncle Shan, I have something to do and I want to stay in the city for a few days. Wang Dashan waved his hand and said, if you have anything to do, just keep busy. The fish are cheap these days, and we can't sell much. Su Guang quickly expressed his gratitude. Wang Dashan is a good person. Although he initially thought it was for the sake of his brother-in-law's face, over the years, Su Guang has also trusted him quite a bit. Don't run so fast at work, look at your dirty face. Wang Dashan casually said and walked towards the back of the fish stall. Su Guang's expression froze as the speaker had no intention and the listener had a heart. His bloodline power is not particularly evident externally, and when his blood eyes are not open, it is only a red line, but if you look closely, you can still see the difference. He has been blackening his face with slag these days to cover it up. Tomorrow I will go to the Qing family to kill pigs. At the very least, I need to clean up and wipe the slag on my face. This method cannot be used anymore. He thought for a moment and asked his buddy Nyo San for a white cloth to wrap around his forehead. Brother Guang. Nyo San hesitated to speak, death cannot bring us back to life. In our common people's lifetime, we can only look forward and have no chance to turn back. Su Guang knew he had misunderstood, but he didn't explain. Wang Dashan is right. There are fewer people buying fish today, and Su Guang can go back before noon. If he didn't come tomorrow, he wouldn't be able to bring a fishing knife back, so he found a brick and a wooden stick behind the fish stall. Passing through the stone bridge, I suddenly saw 3 figures walking towards the distance, chatting and laughing, at the entrance of the alley where my home was located. The leader looked tall and muscular, with tattoos all over his body, standing there with bare arms. Su Guang squinted his eyes and recognized the person. This person's name is Ma San, a famous thug in the town. The 2 people behind him should be Ma San's followers. Ma San doesn't have any fortifications or farming, but he lives a good life in the town. He goes to the tavern every 2 days to drink and has good food all year round. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so tall and burly. Su Guang once heard that this person has some connection with the gang in the city, which is a human trafficker. The reason why Su Guang squinted his eyes was because this person used to ask his family to marry his elder sister, but later Su Chun married his brother-in-law, and his name disappeared. At least in their village, Ma San never appeared again. Now that he has reappeared, it is obvious that he has found a new support, at least not afraid of. The 3rd wife of the Wang family. What a hassle. After finally returning home, Su Guang heard his nephew Wang Wen crying, and his elder sister's face was also very ugly. Su Guang knew in his heart that it was mostly related to Ma San. Brother Guang has returned, let's hurry up and set off. Su Chun's voice was somewhat anxious. Su Guang asked softly, what happened? Su Chun didn't want to say anything at first, but looked at the white cloth wrapped around Su Guang's forehead with a strange expression. What are you doing with a piece of white cloth wrapped around your head? What's wrong with Xiao Wen? Did Ma San come? Su Guang pointed out directly. Su Chun sighed and spoke, then Ma San somehow got mixed up with your brother-in-law and learned about your brother-in-law being separated from his family. Su Guangming came over in vain. My brother-in-law's biological mother was just a slave woman who was not favored at home. The eldest son of the 3 families had always regarded my brother-in-law as a thorn in his side. If it weren't for my brother-in-law's good martial arts talent and his ability to sharpen his skin at a young age, and his job at the city guard's mansion, he would have been separated a few years ago. Now that the old story of family separation has been brought up again, it is mostly due to the cultivation of the eldest son who caught up with his brother. Law. Ma San's soul is really lingering. Su Guang is not optimistic about his elder sister's marriage, but over the years, his brother. Law has genuinely treated him and he has also recognized it in his heart. Now, sister, we will be staying in the city for a few days this time. Let's take my mother with us. Over the years, I have been killing and selling fish, and I have some savings. Can you help me and my mother find a small courtyard to rent? Su Chun hesitated to speak. She looked at Su's mother and knew that she was probably unwilling to live with her son. Law, so she nodded. Of course, she didn't mention Su Guang's savings at all, and she could still make the decision on this amount of money. After finally persuading Su's mother, a group of 4 carried several bags. Su Guang carried a bamboo basket behind him and carried Wang in front of him, then walked towards the city. Su Guang didn't want to encounter Ma San, but the less he thought about it, the easier it was for it to happen. Along the way, before crossing the stone bridge, 3 people met. At this moment, it is noon and there are not many people in the village, and there is not a single person in sight right now. Ma San didn't attach much importance to Su Guang. He just looked at Su Chun with a lewd expression and opened his arms to stop a few people. Oh, isn't this the 6th young master? Why, after marrying into the city, we don't even recognize our fellow villagers anymore. I don't know, but I thought the Wang family was now under the leadership of the 6th young master. Ma San had a strong sense of being a son of a wolf in the middle of the mountain, and said with a strange tone. His eyes were greedy, with a deep possessiveness. Su Chun was already born beautiful, and he hasn't done any heavy work in the city in recent years. He looks even more charming than in previous years. Ma San is ferocious and full of tattoos. Wang couldn't help but start crying again when he saw him. Su Guang patted Wang Wen's head and looked at Ma San with a disgusted expression, just about to speak. Su Chun had already spoken up, "Get out of here, what kind of fellow villagers are you and my mother? The Wang family is not led by my 6th son, but it's also not led by your wild master. Hurry up and get out of here. You should know what my 6th son does." Hee, Mrs. Su, you are still as sharp as ever. It's really admirable. Sure, okay. I wanted to reminisce with you, but it seems that you really don't have this mindset. Let's talk to Xiao Guang in a few days. Ma San still spoke half yin and half yang. Su Chun's heart tightened as Su Guang had already spoken. Ma San Gu, will you treat me to a drink? I haven't had a drink since I was so old. By the way, Ma San Gu, I heard that you practiced martial arts in the city a few years ago and I don't know what kind of martial arts you practiced. Can you? He had a sincere expression on his face, bright eyes, and had already put down Wang while speaking, approaching Ma San with a hint of longing. Ma San felt at ease with Su Guang's assent and chuckled lightly, also. Pui at some point, Su Guang had already stood 1 step in front of him. Can we be invincible? In Su Guang's hand, half of the rusty firewood knife penetrated into Ma San's kidney area, and blood spurted out on the spot. Ma San is truly a person who has practiced boxing. Even if he encounters such a heavy injury, he can still clench his fist and fight back. Su Guang ignored it and pulled out and stabbed the firewood knife in his hand. With a cold and plain expression, carrying a sense of pleasure. The complex expressions on his delicate face created a crazy scene that made Ma San's 2 younger brothers dare not approach. He suppressed and forgave for too long. Ma San finally panicked, "Are you all dead?" Su Guangda shouted, "I don't know if they will die, I only know that as commoners, insulting and teasing ordinary people's legitimate wives on the street should be punished and executed." Ma San widened his eyes, and his burly body finally became weak, limp and lying on the ground like a rag. Blood. Still flowing. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Heart-to-heart communication. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 5 Heart-to-heart communication. A series of changes stunned everyone present. Ma San's two followers seemed foolish. Ma San went to the other side of the river to kidnap someone a while ago, and his younger brother died a lot. They had not been with Ma San for long and had never seen such a fierce person before. The first second I greeted you with a smile, and the next second I coldly and cruelly drew my sword. Su Guang stared coldly at the two, his eyes fierce, like a fierce tiger about to hunt. The last string in their hearts broke. Almost crawling backwards. Stop. Take Ma San away, Su Guang said. The two of them paused and gritted their heads to lift Ma San's body. Su Guang looked at the backs of the two with a murderous look in his eyes. It was noon and there was no one on the roadside, but he was not sure if he could kill both of them at the same time. When the two of them walked away, Su Chun finally spoke up to break the calm and said, "Brother Guang, you." Su Guang looked at Wang and asked, "Little question, are you afraid?" Wang was somewhat surprised. He was too young, and Su Guang still had Ma San's blood on his body. He didn't know how to answer for a moment. To Su Guang's surprise, Su's mother, who had originally thought she would ask questions, appeared the most calm. "Brother Guang, are you sure that the person is dead?" Su Guang nodded. He had stabbed dozens of times, all aimed at his internal organs. It was difficult to save even a rotten organ. With so many internal organs, the medical conditions of his past life could not save him. Su's mother finally felt at ease. "Are you okay? Did Ma San really practice boxing?" Su Guang felt the pain in his shoulders and back and shook his head with a smile. "That Ma San just relied on a fierce force. Where did he practice martial arts?" Su Chun wanted to say something, but with a glance from Su's mother, she dared not say more. Su Guang changed his clothes and the group continued on their journey. But the road became very silent, including Wang Wen, who had been causing trouble before. Su Guang didn't regret killing Ma San in public, perhaps a bit impulsive. But he is not the protagonist and does not have the fate of the celestial demon Lone Star. He has a mother, 3 sisters, and a nephew behind him, and outsiders have already bullied him. Perhaps if it were him a few days ago, he would have endured it. But he is now a stranger, unable to avenge his father, is already a torment in his heart. How can he see someone insulting his family in front of him again? Moreover, if we don't kill Ma San today, what can we do if he destroys the Ma San family one day? For some reason, perhaps it was because he had been accustomed to seeing corpses over the years and his hands were covered in life. After killing Ma San, he felt no discomfort at all, only feeling excited inside. "I even feel a bit regretful. Unfortunately, I couldn't control my mother's blood in front of her and wasted it." "Uncle, did that person die just now?" After the murder, Su Guang had an unapproachable aura on his body, and Wang Wen was not held in his arms. Su Guang chuckled lightly and said, "I'm dead, but my uncle didn't kill me casually. That person just insulted your mother. Do you think I should be killed?" At first, he didn't think that his 6-year-old nephew could make a judgment on this issue. "I'm just too young to kill him." Wang Wen bit his finger and looked at Su Guang anxiously. Su Guang chuckled and said, "Ha ha ha, then we'll wait until Xiaowen grows up to protect our mother. Now we have an uncle." Su Chun pulled Wang away and asked, "Don't teach the child recklessly." She never imagined that her younger brother, who had been intelligent since childhood but had wilted, would once have such courage. "My brother-in-law's home is not far from the inner city, but it is far from the ancestral land of the Wang family. This is the property he purchased himself. The yard is not too big, there are a total of 5 rooms. My brother-in-law Wang Ming is still at the yamen at the moment, with only one little maid at home." "Madam, you're back." Su Chun nodded indifferently and said, "Xiaowen is tired. Xiaokai, please take Xiaowen to bed first." Turning to Su Guang, he said, "Brother Guang, when your brother-in-law is down soon, I'll let him take you to find a house. You and your mother can also go rest." Su Guang arrived at a small house familiar to him, sat down alone, and then silently pondered. Ma San has been able to manage population buying and selling for so many years, and there must be someone behind it. Although it is unclear whether he will seek revenge, he must be prepared early. Thinking of the Qing family he was going to tomorrow, Su Guang's mind flashed with a thought. Perhaps before the search engine cools down, you can take a look at how Miss Qing values talent. If you sell yourself, forget it. If it's for funding or investing in the future, as long as the conditions are not harsh, you can give it a try yourself. Master, it can also be considered as a background, and there will be a reason for my mother to stay in the city. With her brother-in-law's protection, safety is also guaranteed. I just don't know if that Miss Qing from the Qing family is an angel investor. Because Bloody Eye has the ability to deprive his bloodline, he is worried that others may also have the same method. He may not dare to reveal the identity of an outsider for a while. What if there is such a method in Feiyun City? He is a wild outsider of the commoner class, with low strength, no less than a humanoid treasure. Su Guang leaned against the bedside, feeling the changes in his body. The transformation of bloodline power is still ongoing, and he can feel his muscles constantly wriggling, his internal organs often feeling warm and moist, and an itching sensation coming from his bones. At least so far, everything is changing for the better. In the afternoon, a young man dressed in official attire and a handsome young man walked into a dental shop. Why is there a magpie chirping? It turns out it's Mr. Wang here. Yazi was very enthusiastic, and Wang Ming didn't take it seriously. He just casually said, "Is there any courtyard nearby for rent?" "Yes, it's not far away. 2 of you come with me." After walking about a street, the 2 of them arrived at a courtyard that seemed to have been deserted for a long time. It was overgrown with weeds, but the scenery was good, with an ancient well in the middle. Su Guang and his brother-in-law Wang Ming walked around and carefully looked around. The yard was not very large, about 100 square meters, and there were only 3 rooms in the house. However, Su Guang's mother and son had enough to live in. "What do you think, Erlang?" Su Guang nodded, "Too lazy to pick again, let's just leave it here." Looking at Yazi again, who used to live in this courtyard. Yazi hesitated a bit. Wang Ming immediately cursed, "What's my brother-in-law asking you? Do you want to go to the prison for tea?" He is quite arrogant and domineering. Su Guang has long been accustomed to this. His brother-in-law has such a wild and introverted personality, otherwise he wouldn't have been hated by the young master of the 3rd house. After thinking for a moment, he knew he couldn't keep it from him. He gritted his teeth and said, "The original owner's family was knocked out." Su Guang didn't care about this, and Wang Ming was furious, feeling that his teeth were not sincere. However, he was stopped by Su Guang, and his teeth were much cheaper. Su Guang originally wanted to pay, but his brother-in-law Wang Ming refused no matter what. It seems that he was instructed by his elder sister. After finishing the house, the 2 of them didn't stay long. Su's mother definitely didn't want to stay with her son-in-law's house, and the whole family came out to clean up. In the courtyard, Wang Ming and Su Guang sat opposite each other. "Erlang, I finally let you move into the city. Don't leave in the future. In a while, the Yamen will recruit some prison guards. These days, I will give you my meat supplements to take care of yourself. My brother-in-law will find a way to send you in. Don't you always want to practice martial arts? When the time comes, I will become a prison guard and have the opportunity to learn the method of cultivation even when I enter the Yamen." Wang Ming's words surprised Su Chun beside her, as she knew the cost involved. Although she was considered half of Voldemort, she couldn't bear to part with her husband's future, just to give Su Guang a chance to practice. Su Guang saw the couple's expression, and he didn't know that the price they paid in these few words was beyond his imagination. He quickly waved his hand. My brother-in-law can't do this. Those who know say you married my sister, while those who don't think you married me. There are many ways to practice martial arts. Isn't my sister saying that Miss Qing values talent and doesn't value class views? Maybe I will be valued by that Miss Qing from the Qing family. Wang Ming smiled and Su Chun said on the side, yes, my elder brother is a talented person with amazing loyalty. That Miss Qing from the Qing family will definitely take it seriously. She stared at Wang Ming with her eyes as she spoke. Wang Ming let out a bitter smile. Today, Su Guang killed Ma San on the street in order to prevent Su Chun from being humiliated. He was deeply moved and had always admired Su Guang, but now even more so. A person who can pull out his sword and move forward when his family is humiliated must be someone who knows how to repay kindness. Brother Guang, what you said is reasonable. It was my brother-in-law who took the liberty. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Eternal Love. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Eternal Love. Su Guang didn't want to continue talking to the two of them, so he changed the topic and talked about the power of exotic bloodlines. My brother-in-law is on duty at the Yamen. Do you know how many strange people are in Feiyun City? What kind of bloodline power is it? How is it compared to the giant spirit general who passed by 8 years ago? Wang Ming's expression was subtle, with a hint of envy and longing. Among martial artists in the same realm, outsiders were invincible, and even some with strong bloodlines could solve it with just one move in the face of the same realm. The power of the bloodline is so powerful. Feiyun City may be said to be large, but there are only 30.2 extraordinary people who openly report to the Yamen. As for strength, Wang Ming smiled on his face. The general of the giant spirit is a 5th-ranked general in the imperial court, and being able to make the court not disdain his background shows his strength. Naturally, no one in Feiyun City can match him. Su Guang nodded. It seemed that the identity of an outsider was more important than he had imagined. Has the brother-in-law ever heard that someone else's bloodline may have been taken away by others? Wang Ming was taken aback and immediately shook his head. Bloodline is innate, and I have never heard of anyone who can take the power of someone else's bloodline. Su Guang's expression moved slightly, but his heart was still a bit uneasy. He never dares to be arrogant. If he has such ability, perhaps others in the world will also have it. After all, it is unique and has always been an adjective prefix, not a noun. Wait until everything gets back on track in the future, search for it with a searcher, and if it really doesn't, expose the identity of the alien yourself. Alright, stop talking and let Mom and Brother Guang rest early. We still have to go to the Qing family early tomorrow morning. The next morning, Su Guang still woke up early and was weeding in the yard with a hoe. The yard had not been inhabited for many years, and yesterday he only cleaned the house. The yard had not yet been tidied up. Su's mother has also woken up, perhaps because she has moved to a new home. Her mood is no longer the same as a few days ago, and she is discussing with Su Guang how to use the yard. The yard is not small, you can plant some vegetables when the time comes. Yesterday, I heard from your elder sister that planting flowers in the city can sell money, and the sun over there can shine, so you can grow some flowers. Su Guang listened one by one. Su Chun brought food from home, and when Su Guang had finished his meal, he asked him to tidy up and wash up, ready to go to the Qing family. The Qing family is engaged in the business of medicinal herbs, with a large business that is even stronger than the strength of the Wang family. What I went to today was not the Master Cheng's house, but the estate of the Miss Cheng and the second young master. At this moment, there is already a bustle of people, and everyone in the estate has expectations in their eyes. Alien can be understood as a different person among beasts. There are too many people in Feiyun City, and not everyone has seen a different species. Today, the Qing family slaughtered a different yellow pig in public, which naturally attracted everyone to watch. Su Guang followed Su Chun, standing in a courtyard at this moment. Su Chun's face was displeased, and Su Guang's expression was plain. The task of slaughtering heterologous yellow pigs was ultimately carried out by a famous butcher in the city, rather than him. Su Guang was not surprised by this, and of course Su Chun was very angry. "Alright, big sister, since you're here, let's listen to the arrangements of the Qing family. Anyway, Bang Dao also has half a pound of exotic pork." Suddenly, there was a commotion from the crowd outside, and there seemed to be some movement in the middle. The crowd was running along with the person in the middle. Soon, Su Guang saw something surrounded by a crowd. "I saw dozens of people carrying a fat yellow pig that was over 3 meters long and had 4 hooves hanging upside down. Its body was covered in chains as thick as a child's arms, but it was still fierce and difficult to tame. It struggled hard and walked towards this courtyard. Is this a different species?" Su Guang was curious in his eyes. Who caught such a huge existence, much larger than a rhinoceros in his previous life, right? "Kill the pig, kill the pig." A middle-aged man with a sharp voice and 2 strands of beard squeezed out of the crowd and shouted loudly towards the courtyard where Su Guang was located. Su Guang smiled at Su Chun and followed today's main sword towards the already arranged stone platform. The main swordsman was an old butcher, and as he walked, he spoke up and instructed the apprentice behind him. "Prepare hot water and prepare the bucket in advance, don't waste pig blood." Everything was going smoothly, but as the butcher stood in front of the yellow pig holding a pig-killing knife, the pig suddenly struggled and several iron chains on its body cracked inch by inch. In an instant, the crowd surged backwards, eager to have 2 more legs. Su Chun was shocked and turned pale on the high platform, looking at the young lady of the Qing family standing in front of him. "Aunt Liena. Wang Ming's father has a younger sister who is the concubine of the second young master of the Qing family, so Su Chun called Qing Liena auntie." Qing Liena waved her hand and was about to have someone take action, but suddenly froze. On the edge of the stone platform, even the butcher who had been slaughtering for many years had already retreated when the yellow pig began to struggle violently and break the iron chain. However, behind him, Su Guang, who didn't look tall, surprisingly did not retreat but instead advanced. Su Guang's expression was slightly excited. The heterologous yellow pig seemed fierce, but at this moment it was being restrained, which was a good opportunity. An opportunity to gain insight into the power of this world's alien species and be valued by the Miss Qing family. In the process of moving forward, he snatched the pig knife from the butcher's hand and then accelerated his pace to increase potential energy. Sting! A raw force bounced the pig-killing knife open, as if piercing into several stacked pieces of cowhide. Su Guang's face slightly changed, his defensive strength, but his face became increasingly excited. If such a creature were intact, he would definitely have no chance, but now he can test without restraint. At least until the yellow pig completely breaks free from its constraints. The pig-killing knife is recycled and stabbed. This time, his target was the area below the head of the yellow pig, which is the usual place to poke when killing pigs. The yellow pig seemed to sense the crisis and struggled even harder. But Su Guang's knife can be described as fast, accurate, and ruthless. The yellow pig struggled as the iron chain on its head broke open. Su Guang released one hand and forcefully punched the pig's head. Bang! When Qing Lianer came with her people, she happened to see this scene. A handsome young man with a white cloth wrapped around his forehead pierced the neck of the yellow pig with a knife, clenched his fist with the other hand, and continuously hammered the pig's head. Who invited this person? Su Chun was worried about Su Guang and crowded into the crowd. "Brother Guang, are you okay?" Su Guang twisted the pig-killing knife to make the pig bleed faster. Turning around, he revealed a harmless smile from humans and animals. "It's okay." "Who is this?" Qing Lianer looked at Su Guang and asked. "My younger brother Su Guang, the second in line, has a lot of strength." Su Chun responded with a smile as he saw Huang Zhu's movements decreasing. Qing Lianer seemed lost in thought. Su Chun looked at Su Guang speechlessly with a disdainful expression on his face. Why do you want so much pig blood? Why not order more meat? Su Guangyi held the bucket in his hand and smiled. I think pig blood is a good thing. The yellow pig was killed by Su Guang and was relatively clean. Qing Lianer said to give Su Guang 1 pound of pork, but Su Guang changed it to 10 pounds of blood. Qing Lianer also agreed. Su Chun just casually said it. After all, it was Su Guang's reward, and she wouldn't say anything more. By the way, what do you think about what Qing Lianer said? Su Chun said again. Unexpectedly, Su Guang's performance and courage were highly valued by Qing Lianer, and she shared some things with Su Chun. There was a teacher with a strange temper in the city who taught real secret medicines and martial arts, but did not accept disciples from the outside. Qing Lianer made an agreement with Su Chun to send a letter to Su Guang to practice martial arts in the martial arts school, but he needed to help the Qing family for 2 years as a guest after Su Guang had achieved success in his studies. 2 years later, whether Su Guang goes or stays is entirely up to him to decide. It can't be considered as sacrificing one's life, we can only say that each person takes what they need. Although what Qing Lianer did was only write a letter to Su Guang, a letter that could give him the opportunity to become a practitioner. Su Guang is not averse to this. He has always considered himself as an ordinary person, and 8 years of experience have never made the search engine his only reliance for survival in this world. Upon hearing Su Chun's question, Su Guang smiled and said, then let's go. When I succeed in my studies, I don't know how many years later, maybe the Qing family won't be interested in me either. Su Chun patted him on the shoulder and said, fuck you, speak well. She has always had great confidence in Su Guang. The two of them were walking on the street chatting and laughing, but suddenly they saw a group of lively thugs coming out of the alley, cursing and cursing. In no time, 2 thin and frail middle-aged men walked out of the alley, pushing a small cart dripping with blood. There was a corpse lying on top of it, and they couldn't close their eyes. Both of them fell silent. Is the city so chaotic now? Su Guang let out a sigh. Su Chun quickened his pace and said, those people across the river are now like crazy. Among the 3 armies in the city, Feiyun Guard and Cold Blade Guard have all gone to guard the water, and your brother in law and his men cannot manage so much patrolling. Su Guang sighed and said no more. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Apprenticeship. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Apprenticeship Night. Su Guang sat in the room, one hand reaching into the wooden bucket filled with pig blood, his eyes fixed on everything. Although there was no change in the palm of the hand, the color of the pig blood in the bucket kept fading, and after about half an hour, it almost turned into a water-like color. He just reached out his palm and carefully observed it, only feeling magical. However, after a bucket of pig blood went down, he finally felt a change from his blood eyes. In the darkness, he seemed to be able to feel a drop of crimson blood in the center of his eyebrows, which was a wonderful feeling. I just don't know what this blood really does. 2 days passed in an instant. It was late at night again, and Su Guang opened the panel with an expectant expression on his face. There was news from San Mei's side today, and he was both excited and nervous about it. Search results are as follows. 1 or 7 years ago, in Feiyun City, Su Qiu was abducted by the Yabang Qiancheng. Due to his outstanding appearance, he traveled multiple times before finally leaving Feiyun City 2 to 5 years ago. In Anyang City, Su Qiu killed his adoptive father and was pursued. Later, he met Mu Yorong and was rescued by him. He followed him to Shuzhou 3. 1 year ago, in Linzi City, Su Qiu entered the 3 Books and Taoism Academy together as the maid of the Mu family's eldest daughter. Note. The current number of search results is displayed as 3, Su Guang's expression was excited. Su Qiu was indeed alive and seemed to be living well. The young lady of the Mu family was able to lead people across provinces, indicating that the influence of the Mu family was not small. So, there's no need to worry too much. I just don't know if Miss Mu treats third sister well. He opened the searcher and prepared to search for unowned martial arts secrets near Feiyun City. Just after entering the keywords, he suddenly paused. Has the functionality of the searcher grown, such as he himself knows more, which is equivalent to the powerful kernel of the searcher? Will the search speed become faster? He had a vague speculation in his heart that Master Zhao would go to the place where he would teach his disciples tomorrow. After he learned the martial arts, he could search again. It only takes one night's effort. But searchers cannot be wasted. Current search keyword. Valuable item. Associated terms. No owner, appropriate. Setting range. Feiyun City, 30 miles radius, searching. 0%, I heard that practicing martial arts is very expensive, and my savings over the years are only enough to pay the monthly tuition fee for Master Zhao. I also need to prepare early. In the early morning, Su Guang circled around the city and arrived at a large courtyard near the inner city. There is a plaque hanging at the entrance of the courtyard, with the inscription. Immortal Zhao. Dong dong dong. Su Guang came forward and knocked on the door. After waiting for a while, a young man in his 20s, dressed in gray-black shorts, opened the door and gave Su Guang a dissatisfied look. What do you do? Miss Cheng recommended me to come here to practice martial arts. The person looked up and down at Su Guang and said, have you brought enough money? That's enough. The door opened and Su Guang followed the young man inside. Master Zhao came over today, and there were many people in the yard, including about 10 bald men and 5 women in tight-fitting clothes. Both men and women look quite burly. On the steps under the eaves, a skinny old man sat on a recliner, holding a bowl of ginseng tea and leisurely guiding the disciples. Miss Cheng asked you to come over. Did you have enough money with you? Su Guang looked respectful and quickly reached out to take out 100 prepared large knife coins from his pocket. The large knife coins were expensive, and one could exchange for about 100 small knife coins. These were basically all the money Su Guang had saved over the years. Enough is enough. Miss Cheng should have told you that I teach martial arts here. I don't accept wealth, poverty, and those with poor qualifications. Come forward and let me see your qualifications. This old man Zhao has a strange temper. Those 3 rules have repelled many people who come to pay their respects. He doesn't accept young masters from wealthy families, and he doesn't accept poor people who can't afford tuition fees. The first 2 are good enough to get started, but he won't personally guide those with poor qualifications. Su Guangdong stepped forward, not knowing whether his qualifications were good or bad. Old Zhao stood up. He was short and thin, looking like a funny monkey, but with a strange aura around him, giving people a feeling that if they attack, they will be killed. Su Guang heard from his brother. In law that this was naturally formed by martial artists practicing their steps and coordinating their bodies year-round. The old man spun around Su Guang's body and casually said, hold on a bit. He suddenly reached out and pressed down on an acupoint under Su Guang's armpit. It hurts a lot. Su Guang's body itched and his arms unconsciously lifted halfway up. It's neither good nor bad, old Zhao commented. Your body and bones are quite good, even stronger than some senior brothers who have practiced the body-nourishing classic. However, the essence and blood that your body can cultivate can probably help you forge bones, which is quite good. Su Guang's expression was subtle, and his heart relaxed. It seemed that old Zhao had not realized that he was an outsider. Essence and blood. Zhao, the old man, seemed to understand nothing at all. I've been confiscating commoner disciples for many years, and I'm in a good mood today. Let me tell you something, he said, do you know what martial arts are? Until he saw Su Guang's bewildered face and a thirst for knowledge in his eyes, old Zhao continued, the first thing to do in martial arts practice is to cultivate a good body, followed by grinding the skin. This level is not difficult, as long as the body is good, willing to endure hardship. With martial arts secrets and secret medicine formulas, sooner or later it can be achieved. Next is bone forging. External conditions are still important in this stage, but more importantly, qi and blood need to condense into essence and blood in the body. The more essence and blood can be condensed in the body, the more energy and blood can be transported to strengthen bones. Lack of essence and blood, slow cultivation speed, and as one gets older in a few years, their qi and blood will decline, making it more difficult to transport and train their bones. The practice of dirtiness later on has nothing to do with you. Mr. Zhao's explanation made Su Guang's heart beat faster. Essence and blood, this thing is almost infinite to oneself. Does it mean that one's cultivation will be smooth sailing in the future? Old man Zhao finished saying, and the tea in the cup in his hand was finished. He shouted, little man, go to your shop and get some dim sum. A senior brother who was practicing martial arts not far away quickly got up and put on his clothes, then rushed out. Su Guang was somewhat surprised. Master Zhao has a strange temper and seems to hold a high position in the hearts of these disciples. That little man runs fast and doesn't seem to complain at all. Although your master is usually strict, at critical moments, these disciples are still very filial to their teachers, which is called respecting teachers and valuing the way. You come from a lower background than your senior brothers, and you can't take the imperial examination. Practice well, and joining the army in the future is also a good path. Mr. Zhao said seriously. Thank you very much for your concern, master. Mr. Zhao waved his hand and handed over the teacup in his hand. My disciples are all practicing my martial arts. The Golden Willow Technique. Do you know what the mystery of this martial arts is? Su Guang always felt that his master was showing off. But he was still very cooperative and said with a look of admiration, I only heard Miss Ching say that the Golden Willow Technique is mysterious and magical. As for how mysterious it is, please ask master to clarify. This kind of adorable little gaze made old Zhao more and more fond of it. Our sect's Golden Willow Technique is the authentic and grand martial arts of the Xianmen sect. It is moderate and peaceful, relying on hard work. After training, our body is like a floating golden willow, light and like the wind. You have a good foundation, and it is estimated that you will be able to complete the health section soon. Xiao Si, go to my room and get some secret medicine for your junior brother. The senior brother named Xiao Si responded and quickly came out of the room, holding 2 packs of herbs in his hand. Mr. Zhao raised his head and gestured to hand it over to Su Guang. This is our secret medicine. The white one is for internal use, once every 3 days, and the black one is for external use. Sprinkle it in water while taking a bath. Su Guang was holding 2 bags of herbs, feeling excited. The martial arts in this world are somewhat similar to those hard skills in previous lives. Even if one is lucky enough to obtain the skills, forcibly practicing them will only damage one's own body, and requires a secret medicine to cooperate with. This kind of secret medicine is a mystery that masters do not pass down, and it is also the true core of a martial art. Thank you very much, master. The tuition fee charged by Mr. Zhao is so expensive, and I don't know the value of the raw materials for this secret medicine. Junior brother, come with me and I'll take you to practice the Nourishing Body chapter. The man who was called Little Four spoke up. Su Guang glanced at the man, who was burly and over 2 meters tall, looking very powerful. Junior brother, if you want to practice martial arts, you need to take good care of your body. Now that you are a bit thin, find a way to make up for the meal. After a pause, he pointed to a man of medium height not far away. That man's name is Su Sanduo, and his family has opened many meat shops. When you come back, go find him to buy some meat and take good care of it. Su Guang nodded seriously and said, thank you very much, senior brother. My name is Su Guang, and I don't know senior brother's name or taboo. My name is Zhao Yong, I can be considered your fourth senior brother. Zhao Yong smiled. In fact, this nourishing state is the best one to practice. The key is to eat more and move more. The nourishing chapter of the Golden Willow technique mainly uses some movements to activate some meridians, so as to prepare for the later skin grinding. Zhao Yong said foolishly. Su Guang was speechless, but he understood something. The cultivation of martial arts is not done casually, and it does not mean that he can now cultivate the skin grinding chapter of the Golden Willow technique in his current state of cultivation. He also needs to adapt, as each martial arts technique is interconnected. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Stability. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Stability. Practicing until around the afternoon, old Zhao left with a fishing rod. Those disciples who had been waiting for him to personally teach him did not stay much, including Zhao Yong. Of course, some people greeted Su Guang before leaving, while others ignored him directly. Su Guang was not surprised. While chatting with Zhao Yong, he knew that these senior brothers and sisters were all ordinary people, but they were all members of small families. But it is also much higher than the status of a commoner like Su Guang. Perhaps in the eyes of some people, learning art with Su Guang is a shame. Su Guang hid the 2 packages of secret medicine given by his master in his clothes, cleaned the yard, and left with Zhao Yong. He did not come into contact with Su Sanduo, after all, he was still in the process of bloodline transformation. Eating more food and the like can also satisfy him, and most importantly, it is cheap. After paying the tuition fee, he is now completely penniless. The third search was faster than Su Guang had imagined due to the addition of appropriate keywords. It will take about 3 days for him to get the search results, which should be able to solve his current financial difficulties. Su Guang returned home and had dinner with Su's mother. The elder sister accompanied Wang in the room with her mother. He came to the yard alone to practice. After practicing, take the secret medicine, fill the wooden bucket with boiling water, sprinkle the external secret medicine, and soak your entire body in it. A feeling of unprecedented comfort emerged, making him unconsciously moan. A tingling sensation emanated from the skin under the armpits, legs, and waist. These are the key parts that need to be practiced in the Golden Willow technique. From this day on, Su Guang's life fell into a pattern. The transformation of bloodline power is still ongoing, and the progress of his practice in the Golden Willow cultivation chapter is also rapid. In just 3 days, he could clearly feel that his current strength had reached an extremely astonishing level. Half of his family had a water tank filled with Goldman Sachs, weighing about 600 pounds, and he could effortlessly lift it. He doesn't know if he has the power to nourish himself in any other state. Most of the nutrients in this are not actually obtained through food intake, but rather the essence in his blood eye. When he exercises, the blood in his blood eyes will unconsciously tremble, providing him with some energy to replenish his body. Within 3 days, unconsciously, my blood essence decreased by a circle. Let him look forward to the future of Bloody Eye even more, not knowing if it can develop new power in the future. Those who had 3 eyes in their past lives were not ordinary people. Yang Jian, Wen Zhong on the 3rd day after apprenticeship. Su Guang opened the panel. The previous search also yielded results. Search results are as follows: 15 miles east of Feiyun City, into Liangarm Mountain, and then 18 miles southeast, there is a cave that hides a hunter's private money. The specific location is as follows: 2. Number 23, Pingyang Lane West, Feiyun City, where treasures are buried at the bottom of the well. The specific location is as follows: 20 miles west of Feiyun City, there is a deserted temple with gold and silver hidden in the belly of the broken statue. The specific location is as follows. Note: the current number of search results is displayed as 3, Su Guang frowned slightly. Master Zhao goes to the Immortal Academy every 5 days to personally teach his disciples. He didn't want to miss it. Now there are only 2 days left, so he can only go and retrieve the nearest treasure. Number 23 Pingyang Lane West is not far from where he currently resides, about 2 streets away. The searcher cannot stop. After thinking for a moment, Su Guang entered what he wanted to know on the search engine. Current search keywords. Methods to accelerate awakening of stone skin. Related terms. Suitable, safe. Setting range. Feiyun City, 50 miles radius, searching. 0%, he didn't want to swallow stones every day, and if he swallowed the stone lion across the door, he would have eaten it all. Considering the scarcity of bloodline power, he expanded his range. At night, Su Guang dressed in black, shuttled through the streets and alleys. At night, Feiyun City is filled with evil everywhere. However, on a journey of 300 to 500 meters, he saw a scene of gangsters breaking into a house, dragging away their daughter, and parents crying. I also saw beggars starving to death at the end of the alley, with no one collecting their bodies and emitting a foul odor. Su Guang has become numb to these things. He just glanced at them and no longer paid attention to them. Common things, there is no need for emotional distress. Fortunately, the 23rd courtyard of Xixiang was uninhabited, and Su Guang quickly climbed over the wall. Silent night, bright moon. The young man stood in the courtyard, frowning and looking at the eerie aura emanating from the wellhead, his eyes slightly fluctuating. For some reason, he could always feel an extremely dangerous gas emanating from the well, and there was something dangerous in the well. Su Guang had an impulse to turn around and leave, but after much thought, he decided to give it a try. According to the location displayed on the searcher, the so-called treasure was only 2 meters away from the ground, indicating a hidden grid in the well. After some thought, he walked into the room, caught a mouse, and threw it into the well with a rope. About 5 minutes later, Su Guang lifted the mouse, and the huge mouse squeaked and struggled, adding a different kind of vividness to the quiet night. Feeling wrong. Su Guang once again put down the mouse. After confirming that the mouse was fine 3 times, he tied the hemp rope around his waist and tied the other end to the wellhead, slowly descending into the well. About 2 meters away, he saw the hollowed-out dark box containing a slightly rotten black package, revealing some oxidized silver inside. Everything was going smoothly, Su Guang chuckled lightly. He scared himself, it was really scary. Just as he unconsciously looked into the depths of the well with the small fire switch in his hand, his whole body couldn't help but tremble, his pupils rapidly dilated, and his breathing became somewhat chaotic. This is an ancient well, with a distance of 7 or 8 meters from the bottom. At this moment, the well water has already dried up, with only a few small puddles covered in mud. But in the mud, a black giant beast silently hibernates in it. The pitch-black scale armor was the size of a palm, shining with a chilling cold light under the illumination of the fire switch. Like sleeping. Su Guang couldn't help but curse inwardly, grabbed the rope tightly, and slowly pulled himself up. Until he reached the ground, his heart was still pounding, it was definitely a giant beast beyond his imagination, and his breath was also somewhat familiar. It is no different from the heterologous yellow pig he personally slaughtered a few days ago. This is an alien. Fortunately, I did not discover myself. Traveling rapidly all the way, no longer avoiding the gangs wandering in the night. Until he returned home and lay in bed, Su Guang felt the air around him so sweet. He recalled seeing a corner of the giant beast in the well, which looked like a crocodile, with scales the size of a palm, and a complete body size of at least 10 meters or more. I don't know if anyone knows that such a giant beast is hidden in the city. What caught Su Guang's attention the most was that the giant beast had a huge body and a large appetite. Where did it get its food from? Is it raised by someone? Or is that ancient well connected to an underground river? Shaking his head and dispelling his doubts, it had nothing to do with him. He was just a commoner, and when the sky fell, those towering masters were holding on. At this moment, he had the intention to look at today's harvest. The official silver of the 10 liang standard was 5 ingots, and a letter with blurred handwriting was written. 50 taels of silver, converted into knife coins, is 50,200 small knife coins, which is 520 large knife coins, enough for him to pay 5 months of tuition fees. I went to the Immortal Temple the day after tomorrow and tried to get in touch with senior brother Su Sanduo. Practicing martial arts requires nutrition to keep up, so Su Guang plans to buy more meat to give to his brother. In law. Over the years, the elder sister has deducted a lot of her brother. In law's cultivation resources to help her body heal. This is all thanks to kindness. As the days passed, Su Guang's cultivation proceeded in an orderly manner. He started practicing the movements in the body-nourishing chapter at dawn every day until he was exhausted. It is worth mentioning that after learning that essence and blood have an effect on cultivation, he contacted the butcher who slaughtered pigs with the Qing family last time and followed him, but requested to leave more pig blood for himself after each pig slaughter. The reason is that someone in the family gave birth and lost too much blood. They wanted to eat more blood from large livestock to nourish their body. The butcher firmly believes in this, and the principle of what to eat to make up for it also exists in this world. A large amount of silver money was spent, and Su Guang's body filled up at a visible speed to the naked eye. His bones became stronger and his height increased by 3 centimeters. And he also settled down completely in the city. Su's mother spent the whole day tending to the vegetable garden in the courtyard, and Su Chun occasionally brought Wang over to inquire. Su Guang also attempted to secretly inquire about the whereabouts of Qian Qingji, a member of the Yigang who abducted and sold his third sister back then. In the blink of an eye, half a month has passed. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Grinding. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Grinding Xinxian Temple. Su Guang stood respectfully in front of Master Zhao with a white cloth wrapped around his forehead. You are working harder than I imagined. In just half a month, you have completed the cultivation of the nourishing the body section and met the requirements for skin grinding. From today on, I will teach you the essentials of skin grinding. Master Zhao pinched his throat and said with a relaxed expression. You should know the pain of grinding the skin, right? The called grinding the skin involves not only the skin, but also the flesh. Perhaps those senior brothers have all tried the hardships of grinding skin, showing unprecedented enthusiasm toward Su Guang, the young junior brother who is about to grind skin. They can't wait to see Su Guang crying and calling for his mother in the pain of grinding his skin. Sure enough, happy people are everywhere. Su Guang ultimately chose to make the eager-looking Su Sanduo his temporary coach. Su Sanduo smiled mischievously and immediately took out a large jar from the side, then instructed Su Guang to fill the jar with sand. Jump in. Jump in. Su Guang was momentarily taken aback, then realized that this was a normal step for grinding the skin. Seeing Su Guang obediently jump in, Su Sanduo chuckled and said, Junior apprentice, endure it. Grinding the skin is better than anyone else. Su Guang remained silent, and Su Sanduo didn't say anything. He started flipping the sand with great strength and speed, which inevitably generated a large amount of heat during the process. This scorching heat made Su Guang sweat profusely in just a moment, but Su Sanduo ignored it and continued. Sweat soaked through Su Guang's body, and he finally made some sand wet. It was then opened by Su Sanduo, as if he was born in a wound and sprinkled salt. The intense pain accompanied by the heat made Su Guang feel a bit unbearable. He gritted his teeth and persisted. Su Sanduo was also somewhat surprised. Unconsciously, more than an hour passed and Su Sanduo felt a bit tired. He shouted, Fourth senior brother, come and help me, junior brother. Zhao Yong's burly body came over and looked at Su Guang, who was covered in sand. Under the wear and tear of sand and sweat, his skin had begun to ulcerate, revealing bleeding red flesh. Do you still want to continue, junior brother? Su Guang's consciousness was somewhat blurred, and the blood essence in his bloodshot eyes was rapidly vibrating, injecting a trace of energy into his already exhausted body. Mr. Zhao once said that the longer you persist in the first skin grinding, the greater your potential can be stimulated deep within your body. Zhao Yong has some admiration for the ruthlessness of his junior brother. Few people can achieve the same level as my junior apprentice. In the afternoon, Su Guang walked out of the sand tank trembling all over, supported by Su Sanduo. For a full 3 hours. Some horror, Su Sanduo both admired and envied. With the will of my junior apprentice, his speed of skin grinding will far exceed theirs. Old Zhao just glanced at him, his eyes still calm, but he brought a secret medicine, which was much larger than before. This is the secret medicine of the Golden Willow Technique skin grinding realm, only for external use, once a day. Su Guang's voice trembled slightly, thank you, master. Don't worry, the cost of the secret medicine in the grinding skin realm is higher, and your tuition fee will also increase by 20 taels of silver per month. Su Guang nodded slowly, as it was due. The prices naturally vary depending on the services provided. Zhao, the old man, was very satisfied with Su Guang's assent and casually threw a book over. This is a rubbings of the Golden Willow Technique. You can practice it with yourself. He said. The turmoil in the city has become increasingly apparent, and refugees are delaying their retreat. In order to appease the refugees, Feiyun City, in conjunction with 3 surrounding cities, once again dispatched food to appease them. And where does food come from? Naturally, it comes from the reserves of the big families in the city. In this way, the big family is unwilling to suffer losses, and grain prices will naturally rise, making it increasingly difficult for people to afford food. Even during the day, street robberies are not uncommon, and almost all the officials from the yamen come out to patrol, including the prison guards guarding the cells. In turbulent times throughout history, there have always been ambitious and conspirators. Just like the scene Su Guang saw when he returned home again. That is a dark alley, surrounded by a group of thin, weak, and poor people who are dressed in yellow. These people seem to be conspiring for some secret that cannot be heard. Su Guang just passed by and didn't want to attract the attention of those people, he just listened to a few words. Today's inhumanity, with floods from heaven, flooding 76 cities on the 3 continents of the Central Plains. These have nothing to do with Su Guang. He usually avoids people when he sees them and never takes the initiative to form enemies with them. He also makes concessions in street gossip. Su Guang's life is exceptionally fulfilling. Every morning, he wakes up to go to the Immortal Academy to practice grinding the skin. In the afternoon, he helps Su Sanduo's family kill pigs and steal pig blood. In the evening, he goes home to take a medicinal bath and also studies the Golden Willow Technique. I took the time to make up and change my appearance and went outside the city to retrieve the gold and silver items from that dilapidated temple. Not considered safe, I coincidentally met a group of 2 refugees from across the river on the road. With Su Guang's current physical fitness and the use of a pig-killing knife in his hand, it was not difficult to kill them. It is also his first time testing how much essence can be condensed by the blood of an ordinary person. When an ordinary person dies, the blood in their body can be equivalent to 3 pigs or about 10 people, which can help them condense a drop of blood essence. With nearly 100 taels of silver hidden in the statue, everything seems to be on track. Time flies by quickly, and in the blink of an eye, more than 2 months have passed. The night is dim, in the Immortal Temple. Su Sanduo and Zhao Yong looked cautiously and nervously at Su Guang. Junior brother, are you sure you want to start the fire refining today? Do you want to think about it again? I used to grind my skin to the first fire refining, but it took me 3 years. Although 4th senior brother is strong, he is afraid of pain, and it took me 5 years of hard work. You are still young. Su Guang squatted on the ground, igniting a pile of firewood flames and whispered, "Don't worry, I think it's okay." His voice was not loud, but his firmness was unquestionable. Su Sanduo looked admiring, as he had never seen a young man with such ferocity before. Su Guang has been pestering him and Zhao Yong these days, and he is really a bit scared. When the other martial brothers practiced, they only entered the vat to grind their skin every 5 days when old Zhao came, while Su Guang almost entered the vat every day, so he really didn't want to die. The golden willow technique emphasizes a gradual process of grinding the skin. Initially, manual grinding was used to heat the sand, and when it was enough to withstand it, small stones were added to it. The stones gradually grew larger, and when they could withstand the stones as big as fists, the final step of fire refining was carried out, which is also a true achievement of grinding the skin. As for fire refining, no matter what kind of martial arts one practices, the realm of skin grinding is basically divided. The realm that can maintain the skin intact in the scorching sand and stones is the realm of skin grinding. This realm can be considered a skilled skill among some small families in Feiyun City. Su Guang saw that the fire was almost ready and jumped directly into the large cylinder suspended in the air. With a firm gaze, he whispered, "Add sand and stones." Zhao Yong hesitated a bit. Su Sanduo has already picked up a shovel. When the sand and stones buried Su Guang, leaving only one head exposed, the two stopped. Fire refining doesn't require anyone to turn the sand, just someone to wait. If the person in the tank can't stand it, just rescue them in time. Everything fell into silence, except for the occasional crackling sound from the fire. Su Sanduo and Zhao Yong stood in the distance, holding pigs taken from Su Sanduo's house and going into the water. "Junior brother, you're really smart. My old man has been killing pigs for almost 20 years, and I never knew that pig water could be made so delicious. It's really good." These days, due to Su Guang's entanglement with the two of them, the three of them have always gathered together and their relationship has become closer. Zhao Yong was eating absent-mindedly. Although he came from an ordinary family background, he had never seen his father since childhood, and his family was also poor. Before entering the family, he even sold himself to the Lu family to raise enough tuition fees. He shared a common language with Su Guang that belonged to the poor family. "Do you think junior brother can really succeed? Fire refining and skin grinding. It's too painful, I think he's still a bit too anxious." Su Sanduo stuffed a piece of pig intestines into his mouth, patted his buttocks, and stood up. "Fourth, you and I are both aware of the pain of grinding the skin. If someone else is worried, it's okay. With the temperament of a junior apprentice, worrying is really unnecessary. Alright, keep your heart in your stomach. When the junior apprentice finishes grinding his skin, I'll treat you to a drink. Let's find another way along the way and make a lot of money." End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Changes in Blood Eyes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Changes in Blood Eyes. In the big vat, Su Guang could only feel the extreme heat. The thermal conductivity of sand is extremely strong, and the heat almost engulfs Su Guang. He unconsciously twists his body, causing the sand and stones to roll. Every movement is a delay to himself. Su Guang gritted his teeth and persisted. 8 years have passed, and he has a breath in his heart. He has no protagonist's fate, no protagonist's good luck, no money, no power, and no background. All he can rely on is himself. He doesn't argue for a breath, he just wants to prove that there is a breath in his chest that doesn't believe in fate. 8 years, he worked hard for 8 years. He didn't want to prove how amazing he could become, he just wanted to prevent the scene of his father's sudden death a few months ago from happening again. The 3 drops of blood essence accumulated in the blood eye were constantly trembling, and the shattered skin on the body was restored after being shattered, and then destroyed by the rolling sand and stones. Over and over again, repeating the cycle. Su Guang's consciousness gradually blurred, leaving only the breath in his chest. The intense consumption of essence and blood, unconsciously, surged into his heart as he carried the ripe golden willow technique. He closed his eyes and imagined himself transformed into a golden willow, with sand turning into a raging wind. The golden willow moved with the wind, but remained unscathed. The strong wind is raging, and the leaves of the golden willow are rolling and stretching. There is heavy rain falling, and the golden willows are borrowing strength from the raindrops. Day after day, year after year. Su Guang unknowingly fell into a state of false sleep and cultivation. The faster the blood essence is consumed. Bang! Zhao Yong and Su Sanduo, who were chatting, immediately had serious eyes. I saw the large cylinder driven by two people using 8 pieces of wood explode with a loud bang, and one of the figures dressed in rags stepped on the wooden frame, landing steadily. The two of them looked and saw that Su Guang's skin was blood red all over, and there was no sign of embarrassment. Junior brother, you. Su Sanduo was introverted and speechless. Fire refining does not damage the skin, is this a great way to grind the skin? Was it achieved directly during the first fire refining? How could this be possible? Can it be that there is so much hidden potential in Junior Brother's body? Such a character must be able to awaken the power of bloodline. Little Martial Brother seems to be just an ordinary person. Su Guang stood still, feeling an unprecedented sense of strength surging in his heart. It was a comprehensive strength, a transformation-like strength. He seemed to have remembered something and ignored the two of them. He hurriedly came to the table where they were eating braised meat, took out a meat-cutting knife, extended his arm, and made a slight stroke. A feeling like cutting on cowhide emerged, similar to the feeling of slaughtering a different breed of yellow pig that day. Is this grinding the skin? Not only can it resist sharp blades, but it can also create a certain amount of buffering for the skin of heavy weapons, which is definitely a great achievement in skin grinding. The two people behind them couldn't help but shrink their pupils when they saw this scene. Little Junior Brother, did you successfully grind your skin during your first fire practice? Su Guang just smiled and said, no one stipulates that grinding the skin requires multiple rounds of fire refining, right? In fact, the requirement for the successful grinding of leather is only to be undamaged in the fire cylinder. As for how many times it has been experienced before, there is no statistics at all, and some people continue to lay the foundation. Only 2 or 3 times of fire refining can achieve the successful grinding of leather. But Su Sanduo and Zhao Yong knew that although Su Guang entered the tank frequently, his foundation was not considered profound in their eyes. Su Guang smiled. Su Sanduo brought a lot of braised meat. It was night, and the 3 of them ate a lot. There was still some left, which Su Guang and Zhao Yong shared equally and brought back. The next morning, Su Guang sat in his own room, with the white cloth wrapped around his forehead removed. His face was solemn with a hint of surprise. He achieved great success in grinding his skin, and his blood eyes also underwent some changes. Observing from the mirror, he could clearly feel that his face had become extremely majestic, especially the unopened blood eyes, as if they were nurturing a wild and invincible beast that could be chosen and devoured at any time. Interestingly, can this be considered eye power? Su Guang chuckled lightly in his heart, but he was quite satisfied with the ability of blood eyes. Think about it, if you suddenly expose the white cloth in battle, the enemy will first be timid in the face of him. In the struggle of life and death, cowardice giving birth to one point is irresponsible to one's own life. Get up and go to Mrs. Su's room to take out the urinal and serve her with food. This braised meat is good. I see you have brought back quite a bit. I will send some to your elder sister later. Su's mother chewed on what Su Guang had brought back, with a smile on her face. In recent months, Su Guang's earning ability has been recognized, and his family has no worries about food and clothing. Moreover, when Su Guang's 2 senior brothers came over a few days ago, they mentioned that Su Guang's cultivation progress is also very good. In Su's mother's heart, this is a sign of her son's success. Of course she is satisfied. The elderly are always like this. As long as the younger generation in the family makes a name for themselves, their hearts will have support and their smiles will increase. Su's mother has always been reluctant to go to her son-in-law's house. According to her elders, she has a son around, so what does it look like to go to her son-in-law's house all day long? Su Chun tried several times but was unsuccessful, and he no longer tried to persuade. Su Guang took braised meat to his brother-in-law Wang Ming's house. Wang Wen was studying at home and saw Su Guang. Despite the obstruction of his maid Xiao Kai, he rushed straight out. "Uncle, you're here. Are you taking me out to play?" Su Guang lifted the package in his hand and said, "When you finish your homework today, my uncle will bring you delicious food." Wang asked for a glance, then let the braised pig go into the water again. He couldn't help but curl his mouth and say, "Why is this again?" After a pause, his mouth curled up high and he said, "Uncle, I want to eat fish." He has some nostalgia for the days when Su Guang gave him fish to play with. Su Guang's expression froze, and the dead memories began to attack him. Eating fish seems like a secret code, right? Wang Wen. Have you finished your homework? Su Chun's roar finally made Wang Wen recoil in frustration. Su Guang smiled nonchalantly, but he didn't stop Su Chun from teaching his son a lesson, even though he didn't think this high-pressure education was good for him. "Brother Guang, you're here. Come over, I'll tell you something." Su Guang hurriedly went over. These days, Su's mother has largely relied on Su Chun's care. "Big sister, please tell me. In a few days, your brother-in-law will take a break and let him take you out for a walk. Now that you are also a practitioner, it's time for him to introduce you to some contacts," Su Chun whispered, with a hint of strangeness in his eyes. Su Guang didn't notice this and just nodded. He didn't like to refute the older sister's words. "That's it. I heard from my mother that you've made a lot of money these days. As the weather turns cold, I'll ask you to make some clothes for you later." "Okay, big sister, you can arrange it." As the two were speaking, brother-in-law Wang Ming walked in from outside, dressed in military uniform. The door was open, and before Wang Ming entered, Su Guang could clearly feel a fierce aura. However, as he crossed the door, the aura suddenly disappeared. Su Guang knew in his heart that his brother-in-law didn't want to bring his anger into the house. "Erlang, do you know someone brought me a drink today and came over just by smelling it?" Wang Ming spoke loudly, his voice high and a bit flamboyant. Su Guang smiled. Su Chun was unwilling and said, "What are you talking about?" "Brother Guang has brought us food." Wang Ming gave a casual smile. After approaching Su Guang, he suddenly frowned and asked with some confusion, "Erlang, where have you reached in your cultivation?" Somehow, he felt pressure from Su Guang. He is currently in a bone-forging state. Su Guang's expression was slightly stagnant, somewhat surprised. Is brother-in-law so sensitive? He didn't answer and watched Su Chun walk into the room, asking, "Brother-in-law, how's the situation with the inquiry I asked you about a while ago? Is there anyone in the Yabang called Qiancheng?" Wang Ming, as a member of the Yamen and in charge of the streets, has had more dealings with people of all walks of life. As a result, he is always more knowledgeable than Su Guang. In addition to Wang Ming, Su Guang also asked his similarly well-informed senior brother Su Sanduo. "The Yabang you're talking about is not the same as the current Yazi. Yabang did a big thing 5 years ago and was wiped out by someone. The current Yabang was only re-established by another group of people engaged in population trading, just to let people know what they do and continue to be called Yabang." Wang Ming shook his head and then said, as if he had remembered something, he continued. "By the way, Erlang, have you offended anyone during this time? I heard someone inquiring about your whereabouts on the street." End of this chapter.